Welcome everyone to another edition of our Big 12 briefing here on Deep Purple. We're doing them all week, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by a longtime buddy of mine, Rob Sellers, who is a publisher of Cougar Digest right here on the 247 Sports Network. Rob, good to see you, brother. It's great to see you, man.
Man, great to see you. We've had some times. Me and Tim know each other from way back in the Rivals days, and it's going to be good to catch up Big 12 media days and whatnot. We don't keep up like we should, but it's great to be a part of you.
No, yeah, it's great to have these schools in the Big 12, which became official July 1. Rob, BYU threw it like a party. They had fireworks. Man, I didn't know how to do it. I'll tell you what. Well, let's get going. We're going to ask you some sports questions, of course, and then a little bit about Houston coming into the Big 12, some quickie questions. But here we go with this, Rob. What should Big 12 fans know about Houston football in 2023?
In Houston, for Houston football in 2023 specifically, I think they're going to be looking to establish themselves once they get in the league. Obviously, this is going to be a step up in competition for all these teams. But Houston, just like the other teams, I mean, they've seen these teams in the non-conference schedule in past years. It's not like it's completely strange. And in the age of transfer portal, these players that are on the team come from these teams. I mean, it's not as strange as it would have been, say, 5 years ago in a transition like this. But for Houston, they've built a little bit of success. They've had some ups and downs since Dana Holgorsen arrived. Had some good, had some bad. 2 years ago, had a real good year. Last year struggled a lot. The offense got better, and the defense struggled to keep up. So it's been a transition for them. I think they'll obviously be breaking in a new quarterback after Clayton Tune moved on last year to the NFL, and they lost Tank Dell as well, too. Both big offensive weapons there that are going to move on. So those are key guys that they're going to be looking to replace on the offensive side. They've got a quarterback competition coming into camp between Lucas Coley, who originally went to Arkansas to high school and transferred back to Houston last year. So he's got some time under his belt now and the familiarity with the offense. And then the other quarterback came in from Texas Tech, Donovan Smith, a little bit bigger, a lot bigger physically. He's got some experience in the Big 12 with Texas Tech. He actually beat Houston last year in double overtime for Texas Tech. So a little bit more familiar, but catching up some on the offense. So that's going to be a key battle for them. They're looking, to maintain the offense where it's at. Like I mentioned, the transfer portal, they lost running back, obviously, to Colorado. That was a really big guy that set out last year due to a knee injury, but was expected to come back. And this would have been his probably third and last year before he moved on to the NFL. Real good player, but they lost him. So that it's everybody else in this area. We're trying to plug holes. They're trying to develop guys that, and hope they don't leave, as well as get guys to plug holes for guys that did or didn't leave. So I think they'll be about the same. I think they'll be competitive on offense. I think they've got a lot of playmakers, but a lot of young playmakers with not a ton of experience. So I think it's going to be who steps up. Does anybody blossom this year and fill a role that they're looking to fill, or do they struggle with trying to find the right fit all year? So it's one of those – when people look at Houston this year, it's such a wide variety of where they could land. You see Vegas predicting things and, anywhere from, 4 to 6 wins on up to maybe 7 or 8. But a lot of it's going to depend, like a lot of these schools. Everyone wants to know, you have guys that arrive in the offseason. You just don't know what you're going to get until you get in there. You hope you got guys that are going to fit, but it gets harder and harder to predict our world a little bit with all these new faces every year.
I understand. Okay, let's do the same for Houston basketball. I think everyone's very familiar with the Cougars and Kelvin Sampson, but what do they look like in this upcoming season, the first Big 12 season?
Again, they lose a lot. They lost 2 first-round draft picks just last week, which Houston's definitely proud to have, something they hadn't had in quite a while. The success they've had under Kelvin Sampson since he arrived. They've obviously been able to do things a little quicker, a little smaller roster to overturn, and they've had success they've been able to build off, and they've seen it fully, on the court and in recruiting as well. So they're recruiting at a high level. They're playing at a high level. To me, I think they're in search of what could be their first national championship. It's just going to depend now on if they can find that right mix on the right year. You know what I mean? They're at that level now. They're perennial, going to be a tournament team. You hope that translates. Obviously, everyone on this side recognizes the step up in competition going to the Big 12. Houston didn't have a lot of problem getting through conference the last few years. Pretty much unscathed. Memphis was a thorn in the side at times, and there was always a game here or there type thing. But Houston fans are smart. They're very familiar with the basketball world around them, more so probably than football at the moment because of the success in basketball. Yeah. So I think you'll just see more of what you have seen from them. Jamal Shedd's coming back for them. He's a point guard that's been very good. They've signed a ton of great guys out of high school the last couple of years that have been young and developing and looking to basically step into that role when those guys move on to the next level. So I think you'll see more of the same. You know, the Sampsons aren't going anywhere. They recently redone a new contract with them, kind of formed up the writing a little bit better on Kellen being head coach in waiting behind his dad. So I just expect more of the same from them. They're going to constantly be looking to try to reach that championship level.
That's fantastic. Okay, give me another Houston sport, not men's basketball, not football, that fans in the Big 12 should know about.
Probably track. Definitely right now. Track's had a lot of success as of late. They did a lot of success under Burrell when he was here. He's a former U of H guy and had come back, and unfortunately he moved on to Auburn due to some circumstances. Kind of his son was a star here at U of H for a while and tragically passed away shortly after his track career here. And so it was a lot for him to be around constantly. And it basically, you know, he decided to move on. He's at Auburn now, but Carl Lewis, of course, everybody knows Carl Lewis. He was remained. Okay. Yeah, you're like, who's that? So okay. Carl Lewis remained. He's the head coach now in the track program, and they've just been competitive. You know, it's a little bit different game with track, obviously, as you know. Just trying to, how do you use those scholarships? You only have so much to give, and how much you use in sprint versus field and this and that. But they've been really competitive and done really well over the last probably 5 or 6 years. So that's probably another program you look for them to come in to be competitive in.
Awesome. Okay, let's get to some fun, quick questions here. What is the fan excitement for coming into the Big 12?
Oh, they're definitely excited. I think everyone knows Houston kind of has a little bit of uniqueness about it because they're coming back into the Big 12, which they're familiar with half the teams in there, obviously, from the Southwest Conference days. This is something that Houston fans have had a chip on their shoulder about for 25, 30 years whenever the Big 12 came to be, 96. And they felt they were left out back then. And so the excitement couldn't be any better. And I think they've shown that. Houston season tickets, you know, it kind of ebbs and flows with the success on the field. But this offseason with the announcement of the Big 12 schedule and those teams that are going to be in TDECU, they've reached a new high for the stadium, and they're going to cap it at a certain point just for now, to see how things move forward. But they've had a tremendous response, and I think the fan base is as excited as they've been just to get a better level of competition.
What's a realistic expectation for Houston athletics in this first tour of the Big 12?
I think they need to take care of their business in the preseason and the non-conference schedule, obviously. Yeah. But in the Big 12, they're going to need to find their spots. I think there's a couple winnable, 2-3 winnable games here and there. They need to compete. They need to show they belong a little bit. You know what I'm saying? They don't really need to go anywhere and get blown out, obviously, unless, it's going to happen to every team from time to time, but it's got to make sense.
Yep.
I would say I really think they need to make a bowl game this season. They need to find a way to get 6 wins. It shows their progress, even though it's a worse record than before. It does show the progress with a step up in competition. Right. It allows them to get into that bowl, the bowl connections, which they haven't enjoyed. The bowl connections in the American just honestly is not very great. So even a lower level bowl for the Big 12 is going to be a step up for them bowl wise. And so they're anxious to get and see, reap a little bit of that success, but they're realistic. They know what's coming.
Okay, let's do this one. You have a different perspective than any of the other schools coming into the Big 12 because of that history in the Southwest Conference. But what rivalry in the Big 12 is brewing for Houston? And this one probably is historic.
There's a short-term answer and a long-term answer.
Okay.
The short-term this year, Houston absolutely cannot wait to get their hands on Texas at TDECU. That's something that, and careful what you wish for. I know that's the case. So I think they're realistic. They know what Texas is. Texas is on their brain constantly. I'm sure with the recruiting world, they know what Texas has been doing over there. The history between those two schools, just in terms of the Southwest Conference, was really good, with a lot of success on both sides at different eras. Tom Herman leaving Houston to go to Texas probably threw a little bit more on that. And there's just always been the little brother, big brother type deal always going on, the Texas fans. And so I think short term, that's the answer. Texas, they can't wait for that game. It's coming this year, and they're excited for that one. Long term, obviously, as Texas and Oklahoma move out, I think I see it kind of brewing either Baylor or Texas Tech probably. They've had a long history with Texas Tech. Texas Tech is one of the Big 12 schools that continued to play Houston when they went away from the Big 12 or from the Southwest Conference. They've played consistently over the years. But Baylor also has been kind of one of those schools as well that they've had a little bit of history with. A couple years ago during COVID, they had a little thing where they set up a game and canceled it all in a week. And some people got their feelings hurt in the process. So, you know how that goes with fandom. You know, everybody's looking for a reason to be mad at somebody. So one of those two schools I think will be the big two.
Okay. What Big 12 road trip in the new conference is Rob Sellers looking forward to?
That's a good one. Well, I got to be honest. I looked at the schedule right before I got on to make sure I remembered everything. And I see that Houston's going to Kansas State. So I don't know if it's going to be this year or what. I've never been up there. Obviously, you're one of my favorite old guys from the back in the day, and I'd love to go up there and probably cover that game and maybe have an opportunity to catch up a little bit more with you and let you show me the ropes up there on your stomping ground, so to speak.
We got a bed for you if you want to stay at Shea Fitzgerald. Is there a school tradition, something that Houston has unique about itself that Big 12 fans should know about?
I don't think there's anything too crazy. The hand sign, obviously, a lot of people are familiar with the hand sign. It's the same one that I think Arizona State's use it for the pitchfork, but this is their hand sign that they use, and it kind of goes back to the Southwest Conference days and had its beginnings, actually, funny enough, from Texas making fun of Houston over a mascot losing a toe or something back then. And yeah, this truly is the story behind it. I'd have to give you a better update later, but yeah, that's the hand sign. So be familiar with that. They're going to be knowledgeable of a lot of the Big 12 teams, more so probably than the other ones coming in, just like I said, and like we said, from the history of it. So expect them to be pretty knowledgeable. Expect them to be rowdy and a little chip on their shoulder, but I think they'll settle in nice. They're, nice. For the most part, it's a pretty nice fan base. I don't get a lot of things of other fans coming in and having any issues or anything. So I think it'll be fun.
Okay. Houston's a big city, so this answer could go a lot of different directions because I'm used to talking to college town folks. But what's the one thing, if a fan's coming to watch the Houston Cougars play their team in Houston, what's the one thing in the university or the city that every visiting fan should see? Eat, food, sights, whatever.
Definitely the food. I mean, it's known for the food options around here. Just how eclectic the food options are in the city, since there's so much representation here. Find some food before you come down. Hit us up on a free post on the board or whatever. Whatever it takes. I'm sure there'll be plenty of suggestions. They have great barbecue down here. Obviously, that's something they're proud of down here. I don't know. It's tough to say. Someone living in Houston, you try to think of maybe some of the touristy things. They've really done a lot with the downtown area. There's just with eateries and different night scene stuff and stuff like that. Downtown used to be not as a great area to be in, and there's probably maybe some sides that still you don't want to stay on. But the spots you're going to stay that are popular with fans coming in, that everyone's going to stay, there's just a ton to do. They're food-wise, definitely, though. You mentioned the food. Anything you think you want, that you can find it in the city, and they probably got a very highly recommended restaurant.
Love it. He's Rob Sellers from our Houston 247 Sports site, and I am so anxious to reconnect. We worked together in the early days at rivals.com, and that means we're old. We'll have another preview for you tomorrow right here on Deep Purple.